Senator Daines.
Senator Warnock, thank you. As we sit here today, inflation is up 8.3% from a year ago. It's barely below 40-year highs that were reached earlier this year. Food prices, shelter, new cars, medical services all increased by nearly a percentage point from last month. It's not surprising that we're seeing this level of inflation. Those of us on this side of the aisle were warning the administration back in March of 2021 about pushing forward here with these massive stimulus bills when there was $1 trillion of unspent COVID funds sitting out there in December of 2020. Unfortunately, that was just the start of the spending for this administration. In fact, an analysis from the Committee for Responsible Federal Budget Estimates, they estimate the Biden administration has approved $4.8 trillion in new borrowing through 2031 in the form of executive actions and enacted legislation. The student debt cancellation announced last month could cost as much as $1 trillion if you ask the folks over at Penn Wharton. It's amazing to me that the Biden administration can say with a straight face that we're working to get inflation under control. While they have approved $4.8 trillion in additional borrowing, the so-called Inflation Reduction Act will reduce deficits by only $238 billion, leaving about $4.6 trillion in inflation creation. And of course, this inflation comes with real consequences for Montanans and all American workers. We're seeing the decreases now in real wages of about 2.8% over the past year. I want to start, Mr. Diamond. President Biden recently said during a 60 Minutes interview that inflation, quote, needs to be put in perspective, and that the monthly inflation rate had, and I quote, hardly risen. My question is, do you agree with that assessment and with the President's implication that we are overreacting to the inflation that we're seeing in this economy?
I'm not going to comment on what the President said, but it is high. It's likely to come down a little bit because some of those things are going to go away, but pieces are more embedded, like wages, housing, which are not going to go that quickly. And a lot of that stimulus is not spent yet. So rising rates may have to go higher than what people expect. And of course, if you have a global recession for whatever reason, it'll help ameliorate that, but that's the bad reason. The most important thing is to avoid stagflation. Stagflation is the most damaging to every part of society, every industry, all income levels. And therefore, I think it's important to get our hands around inflation as quickly as possible.
Mr. Scharf, what are your thoughts there on the inflation battle?
I would agree with Mr. Diamond.
All right, thank you. I want to shift gears for a moment and talk about board composition. I'm very concerned as we look across corporate America. You know, I spent a good part of my private sector career working for a Fortune 50 company to ensure that we have boards that have, I'll just call it balanced ideological tension, for lack of a better phrase. We've seen what's happened with journalism has gone left, entertainment has gone left. I don't want to see corporate America tip the teeter-totter, frankly, one way or the other, as they work every day to take care of their shareholders. Mr. Moynihan, I know as we think about diversity, I know you believe that's important, of course. Yeah. And the question is ideological diversity. I heard somebody describe diversity at Harvard is where everybody looks really different but thinks exactly the same. The question is, I've looked at the Bank of America's board. It contains twice as many Democrat donors as Republican donors. And I'm not asking that you tip the teeter-totter to the right, but how do you maintain ideological diversity as it relates to board composition?
Honestly, I don't know what our board does for political contributions. It's not part of what we look at. Our company gives to candidates of both sides of the aisle. Not our company, but our PAC does, which is independent of me. I don't make decisions. But I think if you look at our board members, the thing you're finding consistency is executives have been very senior roles like you in big companies because of complexity. So former CEOs, former bankers, and it's a great board and they do a great job. But that experience base of making decisions in a big complex company is what we look for, and that has. I've never asked a director how they vote. Honestly, I've asked them about their experiences and what they could do to help our company be better.
Ms. Fraser, a question on energy. We're seeing, of course, energy prices going up dramatically. Europe is a case study of what not to do at the moment. it's going to be a really tough winter over in Europe because of very poor choices made, starting with the Germans and others in terms of taking out baseload power. You stated back in April of 20 they would not finance Arctic drilling in Alaska. However, Citi has had no problems doing business with Russian oil companies and was the last to announce a pullout from Russia. In fact, Citigroup did not even stop soliciting clients in Russia for 3 weeks after the February 24th invasion. My question is, why would we be using market share to put pressure on to shut down American energy when the world's energy supply for is in great need of more made in America energy, and of course energy demand is going to increase 50% in the next 25 years for the world. So we need more energy, not less, and coal, oil, and natural gas to be part of it.
I want to note that the gentleman's 50 seconds over
All
already.
right, I'll let her respond.
Then thank you for the question. Very briefly, I think there is a very important balance to be attained over the next few decades, the balance between energy security and energy supply, as well as a transition to cleaner energy sources. And that's going to be an important balance. We will play an important role in both.
Yeah, the Europeans lost sight of balance, let the record state. Thank you.